first question is, how did you first came across these principles?
Oh, great question. Let's see. Well, as you saw, I studied a lot of things, and I really tried so many years to change myself.
Mm.
And then I gave up. I just stopped and raised my family. And I don't know if this is really true or not, but what I did was I just remember having a sort of a thought or a prayer inside, like, if there's something else out there in the world, I would love to know what it is. Because in the different things that I've done, I feel like I raised to a level in the top of, let's say, one seminar or another way of thinking or another technique. And I would have some insights and I'd find truth in them, but I never really found that I personally changed. I still had a lot of ways that I wanted to change. So a friend of mine went to a psychiatrist. He was really depressed. I said, just since you happen to like medication, I personally don't, that's my own opinion, I would rather not go there at the first step. Go get a prescription for something since you're depressed. Do something. Well, it turned out that the person that he went to was a psychiatrist, and he stopped everything. He stopped everything, every technique. He didn't use drugs, and he taught about the 3 principles. Well, my friend came back, really shifted. Something happened. And so the nature of me is I'm always looking to see. I'm always curious about human development and how I could feel better. So I went spinning off about something. I was upset. And this is what I remember. I was busy in my head, and I was really upset about something. I can't even remember what. But after this guy talked to me, I remember just looking around at his office and feeling like a newborn baby with, like, just looking at the books and the ceiling and just having this feeling of nothing on my mind, nothing, just exploring. And I walked out of there thinking, what did this guy do to me? Did he hypnotize me? What is this stuff? And sorry about that. And I had to know what he did. So then I went to the Pransky and Associates, and I took a professional training. I mean, I think I did some seminars in between. And then I found out that it wasn't actually a technique or a trick. It was actually, he had this way of showing you how to tap into your own inner wisdom. That's always there. And so I kept on studying more and more. And as I look into these principles more and more, it opens me up. Like I'll have a little bit of an understanding, and then it'll make me feel good. The understanding will make me feel good. And I'll see a way of doing things. Like, I'll just have what they call an insight, which is a sight from inside of me. Nobody's giving you any kind of advice. That's what I love about the principles. There's no dogma. There's no advice. There's no prescription of how to do it. I'm always telling my clients, when you get to that quiet space, you might not act in a political correct way, but that might be right. You're just in this space where you're quiet. And another word for an insight is a new thought. It's just that you like, when I walked out of that psychiatrist's office, I was just quiet. From that place of quiet up here and not thinking so much about how you're going to figure things out or about what's upsetting you, out of that thoughtlessness came so many more ideas and such a realization for my friend as well as for me, as we're always living in the feeling of our thinking. And I've got to laugh at that because I have a 13-year-old son, and he's like, I know we're living in the feeling of our thinking. And it's a silly little catchphrase, but there's really no exception. And what I mean by that is, we think that a circumstance is causing us to feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense to think that. I mean, some circumstances really stink. And I might as well just jump to the fact that I have cancer.
Right. Oh, if you want, because you jump into the fact, and it would be cancer stage 4, is that correct?
I do have stage 4 cancer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even cancer, which is not pleasant. I'm not going to tell you it's my best friend. I've learned so much from it. I don't like that I have cancer, regardless of, there are people out there that just think it teaches them all these lessons. And yes, it does, but I would prefer not to have cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But even the moments when I'm emotionally upset about cancer, I'm not living in the actual circumstance of cancer. I'm living in the feeling of my personal thinking about cancer. And that has changed my life. I mean, before I was walking around with cancer and that's all I could see.
Mm-hmm.
And now with cancer, with this crappy circumstance, I have more joy and more fun in my life than I've ever had.
Mm.
And I can see when I'm caught up in my thinking. So go ahead.
What I was about to ask, Wendi, is that could you just for our listeners, because they're getting to know you for the first time, could you just tell us a little bit more about when did you came across this understanding, and if it's okay with you, when did you discover that you had cancer? So maybe you could make a comparison before and after the understanding, if it makes sense.
Great. Thanks for keeping me on track. This is good. Okay. So I got cancer in 2010. Mm-hmm. And it was at that point, stage 3. Mm-hmm. And just because people like to know that have cancer is that I had a mastectomy and then did some different things and did a couple clinical trials. And anytime someone wants to ask me questions about that, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to go too much into that.
Absolutely not. People can contact you on your website for that. Yes, if they.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was in 2010. And I think it was about 2 years later where I found the principles. Now, when I first was diagnosed with cancer, emotionally, it was pretty unbearable. I mean, I remember some really, really difficult times. And I think it was 2 years in, and I remember saying to my husband, I had just sort of found out about the principles, and I said, I am so uncomfortable with this, and I'm such a bad mom to my children right now. We just need to learn more about this. Because I was so upset. I didn't feel like I was present for my kids. I felt like I had to put on an act that I'm happy and everything's fine. Mm-hmm. And it was so uncomfortable that I couldn't be there. I was just so caught up in what's going to happen in the future with the cancer. Mm-hmm. And I would wake up in the middle of the night a lot thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? Should I go alternative? Should I go traditional? What should I do? So 2 a.m, I would have this thinking, and it was unbearable. And I learned about the principles, and I kept studying about the principles and looking. I don't know if I'd call it studying. Let's call it looking in the direction of the principles. Mm-hmm. And I started seeing that my thinking would calm down. So for instance, in the middle of the night, I would spin off into what am I going to do about this cancer? Mm-hmm. And I think that in that moment, I needed to figure it out. But then as I learned more about the principles, I realized if I woke up thinking about that, I also started to realize that you don't have to figure it out to feel better. Mm. So I used to think you have to go over there and figure out what you're going to do in the world. Okay, let's figure out you're going to do this therapy, and that'll make you feel good right now. What I learned was I don't have to figure that out. But when my mind settles down and I'm in a better place, then I could figure it out. Like, we always think we have to figure something out when we're in that place where we're spinning off. And that's been a huge change in my life. Now, if I hear myself spinning and freaking out about something, I know that I have to settle. I don't even have to. That thinking will settle down. And as that thinking quiets down, like when I went to the psychiatrist and I was just thoughtless, then I have this innate wisdom inside of me, as we all do, that will allow an answer to come. So Clesia, it's changed everything for me. Everything, every relationship, my kids, my husband, my cancer, my new business. You know, when I hear myself going like, okay, figure it out. You gotta do something. Hurry up. I know that it's time for me to let my mind settle down. And that a new answer will come, because we have this innate wisdom inside us. I'm always thinking, I tell my new clients that it's like when you have, I fell pretty hard on my knee a few months ago. And I cut my knee pretty bloody cut. And my body just knows to close that cut up. And I don't poke at my body to close the cut up. I don't take a pen and start poking it so that it could close up. And that's how our thinking works. When we're out of sorts, we don't need to fix it. We have an innate wisdom. The same wisdom that heals that cut is the same wisdom that could work for us if we leave it alone, pretty much. To some degree, leave it alone and not try to think or fix or feed that moment of troubled thinking. Does that make sense at all?
It does. And what occurred to me is one of the examples that one of my mentor used to use a long time ago, when he was just learning about the principles himself. And do you know those balls that have glitter inside? There is like water and glitter inside, the bouncy balls. I had a couple of those, I'm giving away.
They usually snow globes.
Yeah, snow globes. We can use that example. And what he used to say is that, imagine you've got a snow globe and you keep shaking the snow globe. And the snow globe, the shaking of the snow globe are all your thoughts, concerns, projections, expectations of the future, ideas from the past. Everything is shaking your snow globe. And your natural state of your mind is actually the clear water. So we think that when we are in a snow globe, we need to figure something out. And he said, but if you just let it settle and you see the flakes coming down, then the natural state of your mind emerges. And that is when you get your best ideas, because you've got access to all most up-to-date information. So it's the figuring out is shaking it. That won't serve you, but the let it settle will serve you. And sometimes people may think, oh, okay, so what I need to do is to take myself to that quiet space. And it's not even required, because you just need to wake up to the fact that that is your natural state, right? And as you look into this direction, you start waking up more and more often, that the state of clarity, creativity, and insight is your natural state. So you tend to snap out of situations a lot faster. So that is what came to mind right now.
That's perfect. It's beautiful. And it's what the people like Eckhart Tolle are talking about, because when you're messed up in that thinking, you're either in the future or in the past. You're in this thinking place, and it doesn't leave any space to be present.